Bring you our first golf meet coverage here on DCTV. Let's talk about the track a little bit. We do want to thank, obviously, the staff out here at Eagle Rock as well. They've been more than kind, more than welcoming, and we hope to have Guy on with us a little bit later on here. We've got 2 hours of golf. They're going to be golfing in foursomes, but this is a head-to-head meet. And speaking of head-to-head, no practice at all this week for either of these teams. They have been on a course somewhere in northwest or north central Ohio since last Sunday. Now, I know the coaches prefer to have at least one practice in every now and then. The players love to go ahead and just grip it and rip it. But both these two are familiar with each other as they played at Auglaize yesterday over in Paulding. So, again, different track, but also knowing the strengths and weaknesses of your opponent.
Well, and that's key. You maybe matched up against some of the same kids here today, as you might have seen. I know when we were looking at the schedule, there was invitationals this week that they're playing in and different things. Of course, Auglaize just on the other side of town, if you will. The Cooper family owning both of those courses, and again, you mentioned Guy Tettenhorst. He even gave us golf cart keys when we were here. If you don't have it, maybe bad judgment, I don't know, but no, we don't have a better day, and they've been so nice to us out here. And you're right, it's great to get out here and play, and I've shared a few of my golf stories with you. You need to hone in. It's all about repetition and things like that, but just being out on the course, this, Brent, you've got to maybe get out on the practice green, work on those chips. It's the smallest of adjustments that you have to make, whether you're going to, fade off, hitting it down the middle. It's those little adjustments that can make a huge difference when you're out here on the course.
Well, speaking of the course, too, it was playing fast up until Tuesday when a monsoon came through northwest Ohio.
We made it out here just in time.
Exactly. But in talking with both coaches, they said they expect the track to play more true this afternoon. Again, you can't do anything about the weather. The grounds crew out here has been doing a fantastic job, but it was crispy. The tee boxes and the greens were watered, but with that much-needed rain on Tuesday, light hitters maybe won't be able to expect to get that extra 30, maybe 40 yards down the fairway. We'll play much more true today.
I always appreciate the extra roll, but but no, you're right, and that's going to be maybe a little bit more challenge if they've been out on this course already this year. It's definitely going to play differently than they've had to play it so far this year, so those adjustments are going to be crucial too, especially a Defiance team that's on this course on a regular basis. It's not going to be like what they've had in practice, what they've had in their other matches, because it is a little bit different out here, and this is a challenging course. I mean, it's you've got some wide open spaces on a couple of these, but you've got to tuck in and really hone in a couple of nice tight shots on some of these. Placement's going to be key today.
Was talking with Guy Tettenhorst again when we came out earlier this week, got to kind of ride the front nine, which is what both teams will be playing today. Quite often they don't find out until the morning of. They were gracious enough to let us know front nine today, and kind of piggybacking off what you said here, Josh, 2 is where you can really grip it and rip it. Now, granted, you've got Carpenter Street, I think.
Carpenter Road, yeah.
Carpenter Road, excuse me, on the right side. So it is somewhat of a tight out of bounds, but this is a course where I wouldn't call it target golf, but it is unforgiving. If you miss, it's going to be tough to recover.
Yeah, and you look at you come down off of one's kind of a get into it a little bit. 2, you've got the grip it and rip it, and then you hit hole number 3 down in the corner of Carpenter and River Road, and you got a little par 3, not super long, but you've got a pond to deal with on that left side, and you've got an out of bounds with the tree line and the road on the other side. I've seen a ball or two maybe go into the Maumee River before. Thankfully, I didn't hit it. I didn't hit it. I might have hit the road before, but and then you come right back out of that. You've got a nice long par 4 down into the corner. Again, it opens up a little bit, but you got a green that's surrounded by 4 traps that you've got to be able to hit that green. These guys are going to want to hit in regulation. They're going to want to get their putts in, but then you get into the second half of the 9, and you come back over, which would be out behind us. You've got the valley to get down over and up. Another par 3, then you hit into the woods a little bit, and you've got to come around. It's
7 is a dog leg with very little forgiveness. You are either in the tree line in the creek or a high berm on the right. Look, it's not unplayable, folks, but what I'm getting at is this is a course, especially this front 9, where game management is going to be crucial.
Absolutely, and you're playing in a foursome, you're playing match play. You're going to see what your opponent's doing. Sometimes you might think, oh, that was pretty smart, or is the pressure on? Do I have to maybe try something I wouldn't necessarily try if I'm in a bind? That's all those things that are going to be going through the heads of these kids while they're out here on the course today.
We're going to be picking up the crews. The first foursome will be coming in probably in about 20 minutes or so, as they teed off a little earlier than expected today, trying to go ahead and beat any foursomes that might be either in front or behind them. We expect to be joined by both sets of coaches throughout the afternoon, and we'll have some good-looking shots. We walked this course again earlier this week. We've got a full crew, four different wireless cams out here. So, Josh, we expect to bring everybody the best coverage here today. Not quite just one step below if you were standing here and watching it yourself.
Hey, you know what? I'm happy to be out here watching it, but you're going to get a great shots from a couple of different greens. You're going to get some shots from tee boxes, a couple of par threes. We're going to try and get some shots from. That's what we want to see what these kids are about, and it's great to see. We've got some JV kids that are out and about on the course, but excited to see that first foursome come through here in just a few
JV
minutes.
has already had their shotgun start, so we'll be following the varsity, but we'll be getting constant updates from both coaches, and we'll be bringing you some live shots as they work their way through the middle of the front nine. We want to thank our sponsor for the pregame, Estill Chevrolet Cadillac. Again, they are pillars in the community, and we can't say how much we appreciate their sponsorship, helping us here at DCTV Sports bring you the best coverage of area high school sports. Again, Estill Chevrolet Cadillac, bringing thousands of satisfied customers, one at a time. Josh, looking forward to getting this thing started.
Absolutely.
We are off and running here at Eagle Rock. It is a dual meet as Defiance boys golf team hosting Tinora. First of our coverage of the fall high school sports here this season on DCTV as the Estill Chevrolet Cadillac pregame show is underway. Brent Balvinot alongside Josh Bush. Josh, again, we've talked a little bit about the track. We've talked about the weather, but time now to talk about the guys who are actually going to be swinging the clubs. Let's start with, technically they are the visitors, but Tinora, they are very, very young. As a matter of fact, down here, I'm looking at only 2 upperclassmen in the top 6, including 3 sophomores and a freshman.
Wow. And
that freshman at number 1 is Grant Lymanstall. And Coach was telling me he is the biggest hitter by far and away of this varsity crew.
Well, sometimes you get those young kids that come in and they not only get, they find their way into a good spot here, but they're also going to come in and maybe push those upperclassmen a little bit and say, hey, listen, I'm going to come in here and challenge you right out the gate. Golf's one of those sports where, you're not looking at maybe on the football field where you've got a 17, 18-year-old senior going up against a freshman. This is all about the skill. It's all about what they can bring on the course here. And it's great to see a freshman coming out here and stepping into that number 1 spot.
Grant has had the best score so far through the early part of the season. Again, both these teams have played every day so far this week. There has been no opportunity for practice. They've been getting their improvement in match play. But a 76 this season. Matter of fact, that was earlier this week. Both these two teams.
Was that on 9 or?
That was for 2. That was for 2. 76 with
that's
on
that's
9
my
would
score.
have been
That's
my
score.
score. Exactly. But again, Coach Renelay told me, he goes, we've got 4 guys. They're only playing 9 today that they are capable of hitting in the 30s. He goes, it's a matter of consistency, but Grant is one of those guys, again, just a freshman.
Well, and the consistency, that's kind of what we talked about, earlier in the pregame was, getting out on the course for practice. Okay. And, you've got those, maybe your iron shot isn't exactly where you need to be. You're not honing that in. Or maybe your drives, it's tailing off to the right or the left a little bit. Those when you want to get on the practice, out there on practice to kind of hone that in, because the more you play, the more you get those reps in, you want to be consistent with your shots. And that, BR is going to tell you that's going to be a huge piece, and that's what he's going to look for from these guys today.
Well, it's not like you're warming up on the driving range, right? And maybe you chunk one or you slice one. You can figure it out in 30 seconds. Your next swing is perfect. You don't obviously get that opportunity once it starts for real. But one of the things that Coach Rennerle was telling me, Lyman Stahl is not only their biggest hitter, he's also their best putter. So you grip it and rip it, and this young man sounds like he's got a very bright future in front of him.
Well, there's a wise man, my dad, who likes to go out and we play golf a lot. My dad just turned 80 this week, and he challenges me just as much as anybody, and he'll tell you hit him long for show, but you chip and putt for the dough. And he makes his killing on. He hits a nice consistently tee shot. It's not the longest tee shot in the world, but when he gets into the green, he chips them close, and he makes good solid putts. Doesn't leave things off. If you get a little long putt, maybe you're not going to make it, but don't put yourself in a worse spot. Putting and chipping, huge here for these kids today.
Look, everybody loves the long ball in baseball, right? Same thing off the tee box in golf, but you've got to have a full bag of irons, and you've got to have a flat stick that works well. I'm going to date myself here, but anybody, I'd say maybe...
You play with a wood putter?
I used to play with a wood driver. I remember the days of real wood, ladies and gentlemen. I'll date myself even more so here, but one of my favorite players growing up was Ben Crenshaw. And Ben Crenshaw, if you had a picture of him on the cover of Sports Illustrated or on NBC or CBS, and he didn't have a putter in his hand, he looked out of place on the course. And he would be the first to admit, not the longest off the tee, but where some guys might two-putt or maybe three-putt, possibly more if we're talking the prep level here, he was convinced he could get off with one putt. Off the green, everybody else is watching. That makes the difference more often than not.
And those are, you don't want to say this, the easiest shots, right? But, if you think about it, you've got not as far to go. You're on a green. You got to read it well. I mean, how many of these kids have practiced reading a green and seeing what the ball's going to do? Obviously, if you played it a lot. Now, again, we talked about the way the weather changed this week. Are the greens going to play a little bit differently? I don't know. They water them a lot, so maybe they will, maybe they won't. But, again, you got to stick those shots. Hit your greens in regulation and make those putts, and that's where, that can make a world of difference. You can make up a lot of strokes by not leaving those, those 3-4 foot putts. You got to sink them.
The number one for Tinora, Mr. Lyman Stahl. For Defiance, it will be Jaron Hansberger, the most consistent, according to Coach Weaver. And he shot an 80 yesterday at Auglaize at Paulding, but he wants to do better. And again, another young man that the coaching staff says if he gets consistent, shaves off those 2 or 3 shots that just makes you scratch your head over the course of a front or a back nine, he could easily be in the 30s as well.
Well, and sometimes it's those 1 or 2 shots that then you get in your head a little bit and you say, okay, what did I do wrong there? What did I do? And so now you're overthinking it. You're readjusting, maybe you're over-adjusting, and now that one shot may lead to 2 or 3. So if you can eliminate those, if you can cut those back to, if it's great if he's down to 1 or 2 on a 9, but you even starting to eliminate those, stay consistent. You're not going to be perfect. Let's be honest. I mean,
it's an unforgiving game.
It is unforgiving, and I'll tell you, it's one of the most frustrating games that you could ever play. Little ball, big club, little hole. You wouldn't think it would be as hard as it is, but it's one of the most frustrating games. But you're out here on a beautiful course, sun's shining. Enjoy yourself.
Well, and don't let 1 turn into 2. Yeah. Don't let 2 turn into 3. And that was one of the things that Coach Weaver was telling me that Jaron just does well. He knows how to score. 1 bad shot, he can recover. His short game and his irons are his strength. But at the same time, mentally, he doesn't let that get into him. And that's probably one thing that we don't talk enough about. But from the neck up, this game is unforgiving physically, but it can be absolutely devastating mentally if you can't do what he does.
Listen, we've all seen the YouTube videos. Clubs have gone into ponds, around trees.
Broken off of knees.
Broken off of knees. All of those things. And, you can, obviously high school kids, you hope they're not. you hope
I never had enough money to do any of that. If I threw a club, I had to make sure there was no scratches, or else that club basically was broken, was out of my bag for good. So,
again, you mentioned it, the mental side of the game. It's huge, and I always like when I'm out on the golf course. They're walking the course, so they've got plenty of time to just kind of relax and reset. But that's for me. Sometimes when I have a bad shot, if I'm playing and we're riding a cart, I might walk to my next shot, just give myself a few minutes. Take in the beautiful scenery around me, nice deep breath, and just kind of reset. And when you got a young man like that that's able to do that on the course, that's huge, especially as he gets older down the next couple of years.
We're breaking down the number ones. There are 6 varsity golfers. We've got a lot more to go as they are underway here at Eagle Rock, but we're going to take a quick time out. We are back with more on DCTV Sports. And we welcome you back to Eagle Rock. Brent Balbinot, Josh Bush, and there is a good look at the tee box here as this is the first foursome, Defiance and Tinora boys golf, our first broadcast of the season here on DCTV Sports. And the number ones and number twos are making pretty good time here, Josh.
Yeah, getting that tee there on hole number 4 as they're coming off, obviously, the par 3 down in the corner and making their approach down River Road towards the corner here. As you can see, the group just teeing off there. Nice shot down the right side of the fairway. So, maybe out in the rough a little bit. No, it's a pretty familiar spot for me.
One of the more open fairways on at least the front 9 here, though. We talked about number 2, granted with Carpenter being on the right side, but if you are trusting that you can at least hit the ball straight, regardless of how long you are off the tee, you've got back-to-back holes here that you should be able to go ahead and feel comfortable in taking a bigger swing.
Well, yeah, and you look at not as forgiving to the right. Obviously, you got the tree line, River Road on the other side of that. It does open up as you come down. It's got some space down there, but with the tree line, not exactly where you want to be. You probably want to stay, maybe more to the left. The biggest thing is it really doesn't matter which way you come into the green. You've got it bunkered on each side, 4 of them to be exact, a couple tight and a couple back off the green a little bit. So you've got to really, if you're going to hit it in regulation, they're going to have a tough shot coming in here on the second hole.
Well, as we walked or drove the course earlier this week, this green is slightly elevated as well. And as you mentioned, I don't want to call it tricked out, but if you are off just a bit to either the left or the right, you're going to find yourself getting a little sandy.
Well, and I don't like going to the beach because I don't have a club for that. But, again, that's just another added challenge when you look at, coming down this hole. And we'll see as they come down to their shots here in just a few minutes as they're getting their exercise in, walking
Absolutely.
the holes. But as you can see, they're going to walk down here, and then they've got to decide. You've got the marker out there. They're going to be sitting what I would imagine to be just a little bit inside the 150 marker into the green. And that's going to be, again, it's not a short iron.
No.
For high school kids, for me, it's not a short iron either.
Well, and you're hitting into the stiffest part of the wind right now, too. As we're watching this, we have we're facing that tee box, and not that it's a huge zephyr, but there is a little bit of a breeze that's blowing straight into their faces. So again, much like we talked about during the pregame, Josh, this is where you have to manage your game and decide on a calm or a still day, do I use this club, or does maybe a 10 or a 15 mile an hour wind make me decide I've got to reach for a different iron?
I think we can switch over to the group behind them, and this would be the 3 green as the second group has made their way onto the green of that par 3.
So again, break this layout down for our viewers here. What's the challenge of this tee box in this hole in particular?
Well, the real challenge here is when you tee off, you're in the corner. It's the corner of Carpenter and River Road, which that's not really the challenging part. There is the entire left side of the fairway, if you will. And again, it's a par 3, so it's not super long, but you've got a pond that's on that left side, and you're tucked right along the tree line that goes over the road. So you got to kind of make your shot nice and tight down to the green. It's an easy green to play. If you get off to the left side, though, it's going to fall down. But you can see these guys have got their approach shot and made their way up on the green. So, that's a big key, getting that green in regulation.
I believe this is Ryan on this camera, and if Ryan maybe wants to zoom in a little bit more for us, give us a little bit better look of the lie there, because this green looks like there's a little bit of slope to it. There you go, a little bit more, Ryan, absolutely. So what we're seeing here, again, how not just you play the greens today, but you've got to play the elevation, you've got to play the slope here, and probably a little bit softer. So not to say that you Captain Caveman it, but you might have to put a little bit more on your flat stick today.
Yeah, and again, with the rain and then watering, you're still pretty early in the day,
Yep.
so the sun really hasn't, the sun maybe hasn't burned off that moisture too much. We saw a couple of golfers out here when we came out. We got here a little about 8:30 or so. A couple of guys out on the course, but really, how slow do these greens play? And the slower the green, the more break you're going to get. Speed is everything here in the early going, especially.
We're about to get an education from the second group here. reading it well. Now, here's the situation, too, where do you tend the pin or do you have them pull the pin? We were always coached, granted I couldn't take advantage of this, if you're on the green, unless there's elevation changes, you want to make sure that that pin is out. Now, right now, it looks like these guys are taking a look at it, and it's all golfer preference, but at least right now, it looks like they're going to leave it in.
Well, and again,
or will they? No, they won't. See, these guys are giving us an education here as well.
See, they're trying to.
He wanted to read it, though. Now he's taking a couple steps back. Again, this looks like, as we were talking about, you can kind of see it a little bit here on our screen, but it looks like there is a little bit of a slope here, and we don't know where the break lies on this either, but it looks like he may have to be playing both.
Yeah, and you're going to get a little.
There you go, Ryan. Keep going. Zoom in for us.
There it is.
From where we're standing, what does this look about? Maybe 5 or 6 feet, potentially?
I would say maybe 8. Looks like he
just
off a little bit over there. So,
now here's where, if he's going to go ahead and put his marker down, but this is where everybody else now watches, right? How often do you hear the phrase, give me an education?
Absolutely. Well, I think we could probably switch over to the 4 green with group number 1 as they have made their way onto the green, and we'll see if what this would be our 1s and our 2s here have reached hole number 4's green, and again, that's tucked back in. The approach off of the.
Now this is an excellent shot here by Cody, well framed up. We're getting a good look here. Does that have enough? I think these greens may be playing just a little bit slower than originally anticipated.
Yeah, and that's the adjustment that these kids are going to have to make, especially as they move through the course. Now, keep in mind, too, the more the sun comes out here today, you're going to see that they're going to speed up a little bit, kind of get some of that moisture burn off of there. Again, it looks like it just...
Drew Heffel saying, if I just ate one more Wheatie for breakfast...
And again, not a super challenging green. It's got a little bit of movement to it, but again, right now, I think it's speed for all these guys.
I believe is this Logan Stein, the young sophomore for Tinora,
and he puts it in.
Well, the first 2, as we talked about, gave him an education.
It must be the belt. I like the belt. So,
styling. He's got his back to us, but I believe this is Jackson Hansberger, correct? Number 1.
I believe you are correct. Kind of tough to see with the sun, but
Mom Jackie will let us know later if we are incorrect. Giving a shout out to Mom today.
And he holds it.
There you go. All right, so the first group is through, and they're making pretty good time on this course. Nobody in front of them, and obviously...
And they're about 45 minutes in, and they're already through 4.
That is pretty good, and as we mentioned during our Estill Chevrolet Cadillac pregame show, we anticipate being joined by both coaches as they, if you want to call it the turn through 9, would be roughly coming up here. But this back 9 as well, a lot of elevation changes, and maybe especially number 7 gets a little tight with that dog leg left. So I don't want to say the more challenging portion of the front 9, but for lack of a better term, I will. Still lays in wait for these guys.
Yeah, and really it's going to start with this first group. They're going to come off a 4 onto that 5 tee box, and this is a hole where it's kind of over behind us, Brent, but you've got to hit down. It goes into a valley, and then it comes up on a hill to the right side. There's trees in the valley to your left. There's even a creek that runs through there, and the green is elevated back off to the left. Again, it's got trees all around it. So, I'm out here in a scramble. You get a good ball out in the middle, and then a couple of us that maybe aren't as consistent may try to get over those trees and go at it. But when we take a look at the tee box here, we'll get to the tee box here on 5 in just a minute. But when we get there, we're going to be, these guys are going to have to kind of make their way down and left. And we'll see what this shot looks like from
You've played this track before. There's a beautiful look from right behind the tee box. That is an excellent shot. Gives you a little bit more of an idea of what Josh was talking about there with the elevation changes. But then I don't want to call it a true dog leg, but it definitely takes a cut to the left there.
Yeah, you can kind of see where they striped the fairway there, and you're going to come up. It goes down. You can't even see the bottom of the gully, or the valley. Sorry, gully is the.
We have no gullies here at Eagle. It's all just valleys.
So you.
Is he playing a fade a little bit there? Let's take a peek and see where that ball lands, or is he drawing that a little bit?
Well, and that's the key. I think he got up to the top of the hill. What you want to do is you want to try to get yourself out on top of that hill. You're going to have a fairly close shot up there. And to be honest with you, even if you hit it a little long here, it's not going to hurt you because you're up on the top flat part.
There we go. We got our camera shot back. So if you are a heavy hitter here, how tempting is it to just go ahead and drive and cut that left corner? You see the tree there just to the left of Drew Heffel. Does that penalize you? Is that too high risk for high reward or not?
I think in match play like this, it probably would be. Okay. If you're playing like I said, if you're playing a scramble, because as we turn and look from our vantage point, that would put you necessarily on the side of that hill there, which you've got those big trees that are sitting down there. You're better off, I think, in this instance to play that shot out. Again, if you can get it up to the top of that hill on the other side of the valley, you definitely are going to, be in a spot where you can see that green and have a nice approach shot.
Nice approach shot there by Heffel. I believe that this is the young sophomore Logan Stein with his back to us. And boy, he didn't take much of a warm-up there. He was ready to go. And a little bit of a roll. And time will tell here. Now, again, if you are short on this hole, though, Josh, that thing might be coming back to you, and you might meet it halfway. So you've got to be confident that you can carry that.
Yeah, and that's the challenge if you want to try to cut that left side, is you've got that big sloping hill, and if you get down in there, again, there's some very healthy trees, some very aged trees, if you will, that hug that left side, and if you get yourself down in there, you've either got to get over it or you got to get under it, and
I don't want to call it all or nothing, but you got to make a decision, right? You're either going to be aggressive or you're going to be safe. There's no in between off of that tee box. Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, you again, I think in match play, you'd want to get out there, find yourself up to that top of that hill, give yourself a nice clean shot into the green.
All right. Are we looking at the second foursome coming through here? Yes, we are. It looks like.
So that looks like they're coming up on hole 4.
Well, again, we had to wait a little bit with the limitation in some of the range on our wireless cams. And folks, let me tell you, the investment in equipment for DCTV this season is nothing short of impressive. And our guys doing a great job of giving you a feel of not just 1 or 2 tee boxes, but the better part of the front 9 here.
As we're going to switch over, I think, to the 3 green once again. And this will be the approach shot. This would be probably group number 3 approaching their way up to that 3 green, a little up and down here.
Ryan,
eyeing it down.
Shot. Yep. And what do you think? Can you tell from there?
I think it's going to be a pretty good shot.
We'll find out here when they actually get up on the green. Ryan will be able to zoom in on that for us a little bit here. But again, par 3s can often be so tempting because everybody looks at them and thinks, automatic, this is my best chance for a birdie. But if you aren't careful, or if you're sloppy, or try and do too much, all of a sudden you're putting down the wrong number.
Well, and 2, if you look at hole number 3, the pond, yes, it's on the left-hand side. You got the tree line on the right side. You got some bunker action in there too. It's easy to get complacent on a par 3. You go, okay, I just got to get up here, get up and down, but it's not always that easy, and the littlest mistakes on this hole are the ones that are going to cost you the most.
There you get a good look too. It looks like, as my coach used to call it, that's a narrow gate to the green there. So again, while you might be tempted to go ahead and play it a little bit longer or choose a different club, your margin for error is obviously much less as well. But again, it goes back to what we were talking about earlier, Josh. This course requires you to manage your game. You've got to think your way through it.
As we switch over to the 4 green.
Okay.
Well, the group number 2 is making their approach there. And
I believe is this Cody on the
yep.
camera here on this. There you go. So we watch him come up to the side, but he has got a great angle, great location to see how this played. And we saw the first group kind of give us a little bit of a look at it as well. Green's playing a little slower than we anticipated, but the rain was much needed earlier this week. Absolutely.
Maybe we'll take a look back here at 4, on 3, as they're getting ready to putt.
We'll see. It looks like everybody's on, correct?
Yeah, looks like they're all putting. So there goes the flag.
So we know they are. I will say this, and Coach Renoulet was working with the guys over on the putting greens on a day like today, especially with it being a little bit dewier. Chip and run. Mm-hmm. If you are on that fringe, I learned this a long time ago, but there's nothing wrong with grabbing a small wedge, heck, even an 8-iron, and just letting the club do a little bit more work for you. Not needed here, but like we talked about, not uncommon to see.
No, and especially on a day like today, as it looks like they kind of hold that one around and a little in and out. Use the sides of the cup but forgot the bottom and make up for it. And again, you're still only a couple of holes in here. You're trying to figure out what these greens are doing. How much have they worked on, getting those feels for what it's going to be like for those kids. And, you don't have a lot, and hopefully you haven't taken too many shots on the green to find out.
Ryan, feel free to zoom in just a little bit more here. We'll get another look. But again, we talked about the slope on the screen. There you go. Keep it coming.
A little tap in there.
That's what goes through your head when you're thinking just a slight adjustment. That those tap-ins can be one of those moments of frustration when you're asking yourself, what if?
Well, then you get to the next screen, you go, okay, well, I left that last one short, so how much more do I need to give it? And that's sometimes, especially for these young kids, can be a bit of a challenge. We'll see him sink the putt here, and then I think we're going to go to the...
Going to 6. There's the break on that slope that we were talking about, and just off. Yep, it's one of those frustration moments where you think you've got it played right. It looks good off of your flat stick, and then at the last second, just a slight adjustment. It breaks one way or doesn't break enough the other way, and you see that. So a short tap in. And now we have switched to, which green are we at here?
I believe that's going to be the 5 green.
Okay.
So this would be group number 1.
Okay.
That just hit on up into the valley and around. So
they're all on in 2, it looks like. Or is that a little bit of a chip and run?
Little chip up from the fringe.
Okay.
Again, that's where you flirting with disaster on that left side, because if you can, from our vantage point over here, you can kind of see that is not forgiving. Where he's about 3 feet away from that ball rolling another 30 or 40 feet down into the valley. So. Flirted with a disaster a little bit there on his approach into 5.
So here is Drew Heffel, the junior.
It's like about a 6-8 foot putt.
Did that lip out? I couldn't quite tell. We were slightly obstructed. He's going to mark it.
So maybe, again, that adjustment. They've been playing slower, but now, look, you got the sun coming out.
Yep.
That green's out in the open.
Starting to bake a bit more, and I believe that was Grant Lyman's stall. And that is off to the right just a little bit. Here's where, again, the frustration maybe sets in. You think you've read the green, you think you've hit it properly, but you cannot let that turn into a second or a third stroke.
Well, and if I remember right, this green's a little bit tricky where it doesn't look like it has a lot of break, but then you get up there and you get a little bit of, get those ridge shots that just kind of fake you out a little bit, where you don't think it's going to break maybe the way it does, and it's on kind of a ridge, and it looks like it's one thing and it ends up being something else.
So Stein a little disappointed, as you can tell by the way he looks at the ball. Maybe that one will end up in the mommy, but a 3-putt on this green. And here is Jaron Hosberger. Drains it.
Good finish there for Hansberger.
And you notice how he just kind of confidently stood up. Coach yourself up as much as needing a coach to say something to you, don't you?
And you're out there really by yourself as Drew Heffel's going to try to sink his shot here.
And does.
Little tap in there for Drew and kind of finishes off on.
Josh, you mentioned coaching yourself up, as we've got one more here, and I believe that this is Lyman Stahl as he finishes off the first group at 5. But the Ohio High School Athletic Association changed their rules for coaches this year. It used to be, way back when, no coaching. You send them off and you can kind of watch, but you.
Again, this will be group number 2, getting into that valley. Again, your goal would be to get up on that top ridge up there to give yourself that, you know, again, from our vantage point would be on the other side of those trees back over there. You want to stay to the right. You want to stay deep if you can and see if you can find your way, you know, into a nice straight-on shot that you don't want to get off to the side.
So let's take a look here. It is back to us. I'm not sure if that is Ryder Brockhouse. Oh, he ripped it. He absolutely went for it. And trying to determine if that ball comes back down into our camera's frame here, where that lands. But I don't want to say he took a risk, but that was a confident swing.
Yeah, and you know, you've got to you can't be afraid of this hole. You know, if you're afraid of this hole, you're going to end up with that ball down to the left, and you're going to end up in the valley.
Yep, our feed is kind of popping in and out here, folks. We apologize. Second drive here for Tinora. And now up next for Defiance, as we've got our cam feedback. I believe that's Bowden Stoller, our camera feed kind of popping on us there, folks. That looks like a hockey player's swing, though, doesn't it?
It sure does. I think we got the first group now up on the tee box on number 6.
So we've switched groups.
This will be a little par 3 that, again, you got the valley shot, so it looks like it looks a lot more deceptive from our angle here, but it's going to be a little bit of a longer par 3. You're going to go down and up, and again, you got traps on both sides and a big sweeping green up on the other side.
Again, you can see that elevation change, and that might make you think the hole is more dangerous than it is. But if you're solid off the tee, and that looks like a good drive, that maybe push off just a little bit. We'll wait and see. Can't quite tell from this camera angle where that landed, and I'm not sure he was happy with that.
Yeah, it looked like it might have been pushed off to the right side just a little bit, and you know it's going to happen. But again, now it becomes, what do you do after that?
Short swing. Looks like he's trying to play a little bit of a fade there, and by his reaction, you'd never know, right? Well, maybe not so much.
Until he turned around.
You just tipped for us, young man. You just tipped.
This is a 153-yard par 3, playing from the white tees.
So most of these guys are probably going to be using, what, a 7?
I would imagine. It's a sand wedge for me, but I'm just kidding.
Sure, okay, Tiger.
I'm just
you betcha. 56-degree gap wedge, no problem.
Yeah, just loft it up there a little bit. So, no,
well, again, the elevation change looks deceptive, but as you take a look there on the screen, there's sand on both sides. That's a narrow gateway to get to that hole.
Yeah, and you know, at 153 yards, obviously, it looks, when you're standing on that tee box, it goes down a long ways and then back up the other side. It looks like it's a lot further than it is. And honestly, it says 153. I played that hole enough to tell you that it plays a little longer than 153. So you know, you don't, and again, it's a big green. It's way open on the backside. So if you want to get maybe a little bit deeper. And again, I can't see the pin placement out there, but if you want to play the backside of the green, the thing you got to remember is it's going to slope back down towards that.
Yep.
And so if you're going to play from above it, you just know that it's going to speed up on you as you come down. That green's out, it's got trees on the one side, but it's going to get a lot of sun here in the early morning here. And so it's got to be speeding up.
Well, again, I don't know how deep these guys' bags go as far as clubs are concerned. Most guys don't carry anything more than a 7 wood. That would be too much on a hole like this. You're looking at a 7 iron. But if you're confident you can carry the green, as we've seen so far, I think at least for right now, the greens will hold. So I'll be curious to see what the second group or how the second group approaches this hole.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you're right. I think with the amount of weather, the amount of water and the rain from this week, that I think you're going to get these greens to hold pretty well. It's just getting it there, confidently getting it there, as I think we're going to come back over to, this will be the green on number 3.
Okay.
I believe I've lost track of all these numbers out here. I've lost track of who's where, but I think this might be group number 4.
I believe so.
Would that be our final group?
Should be. Again, just walking off the side of the green there. I'm not sure if that was Castillo or not. If that's the case, we may be looking at some of the JV golfers here as
Gotcha.
well.
Yeah.
What a story there, too. I mean, older brother, obviously stud football player, stud basketball player. For those that are unfamiliar with younger brother's health issues, extremely limited due to a health condition. We'll just say that. But so competitive as that family is, and he just simply asked his doctor, what can I play? Can I play golf? And he was told yes.
Hey,
so
why
talk
not?
about picking up the game extremely late. And a little bit of a character, too, as I watched him and listened to him.
That doesn't surprise me one bit.
I walked by him, he goes, good evening, sir. And then one of his teammates said, good morning. I'm like, you'll figure it out eventually. But definitely charismatic. Let's put it that way.
All right, I think we might be able to go ahead.
We have another foursome that we can pick up here. Who have we got here?
I think we can switch over to Cody here. This might be the green on hole number 4.
Okay, and that is Khalil Liggins standing in the foreground for Defiance.
Noticeable figure, is he?
Multi-sport athlete. If I remember Coach Weaver telling me, picking up the game of golf just a little bit later.
Sure.
But wanted to stay involved and stay active in fall sports. And Coach Weaver said right now, Khalil is an athlete who golfs. We're trying to turn him into a golfing athlete.
And that's something that I don't think if you've been around a sport, there's so many differences between, in any sport, right? There's a difference between an athlete and a football player. You love to have the athletes, but you need football players, and same thing on the golf course. You love to have the athletes because they can compete. They're used to being out and being competitive, but you got to have them with the understanding of the game too.
In this foursome, along with Khalil Liggins for Defiance, I believe we have Bowden Stoller. And for Tinora, I believe this should be Parker Hancock, a junior, and Grayson DeLarber, the only senior in the varsity 6 for Tinora. As we mentioned, this is a young Rams varsity starting 6, a freshman, 3 sophomores, 1 junior, and a senior.
And as you can see, we've got, is that coming up on 7? So we may have our first group coming up on hole number 7 now.
Okay.
As we can switch over. Now this hole number 7, we kind of talked about, a little bit, is a 347-yard par 4. It starts elevated, goes down. You hug it'd be basically the flip side of hole number 5 when you come back on the other side where it sweeps down into the valley. There's a creek and a lot of woods on that left side, and then you've got a steep embankment on the right side, a little bit of a fade off to the left, and then an elevated green, again, surrounded by traps. So you've got to get yourself out there on that tee shot, give yourself a look at the green, and and then be able to come up and hit it on, and you're going to have a tight approach even up to that green as well.
I had a chance to talk with Coach Weaver last night, and I said, which is the most difficult hole on the front nine? He said, without question, number 7. And to me, the first thought that kind of hits my mind is it's a Trojan horse. It looks inviting, but it is very deceptive.
And again, I can't tell you how many times I've tried to kind of tuck that left side towards the left.
You got the updates. Go ahead and go ahead. You got them.
Go ahead.
So we're varsity guys are about through 5. So Jaron Hansberger just made 2 birdies in a row. So he's 1 over par through 5. Drew Heffel's 2 over. I'm not sure what he got on 5. He was in a little rough position off the tee. And then the rest of the guys are kind of battling 2 over, 3 over through about 4 holes. The JV guys are getting some experience going. So they started on 8 and 9. So most of them are probably on about a mid-50s pace. So
your thoughts so far, at least through the early going?
Yeah, I think the varsity guys are grinding pretty good. A lot of them, we get 3 practices, and then we're kind of into 18-hole invites, and so it's trial by fire for sure. So some of them are starting to grind a little bit more and kind of keep that attitude a little bit better for longer stretches of time. They have one bad hole, some of them get down on themselves, and they're out there grinding today, which is good to see.
We're kind of keeping an eye on which green are we at here on our screen. Josh, I'm trying. Is this 5? Okay. So, Coach, walk us through how you do practice, when you actually do get practice time. I know the athletes would just as soon play. Coaches always want to at least mix in 1 or 2 practices. Coach, I heard somebody yell 4, so I'm not sure if that was one of Defiance's foursome or not.
It's for us. We're in real trouble.
But it's in the mommy, so if you're having to yell there. But Coach Weaver was saying, I asked, so how do you practice? And he said he'll take 3. You'll take 3. He credits you with being the swing guru, as he called you that before. But he said it's one thing for the guys to kind of play through it, but sometimes you can get frustrated, maybe, I don't want to say lose focus, but maybe kind of forget why I'm sitting where I'm at. And he said that's where the benefit of you guys splitting up at least the varsity 6 and being there as a second set of eyes, so to speak. The question is, how well do they retain your coaching and your suggestions during those practice rounds?
Yeah, so I think that's the tough thing with golf, right, is what you feel and what's actually happening most of the time are 2 completely different things, So you make that suggestion and you try to get them to maybe think of a little bit of a change, but it takes a long time for that to become second nature, and so that's the difficult part with golf is you don't want to over flood the kids with information because they have to be comfortable with it. But playing with them, you get to just try to get into their minds a little bit. Most of them, Coach Weaver and I were just talking. Bowden hit a hell of a chip on 4, and I don't think he even realized how good it was. But then sometimes that clouds their expectations for other chips, and so it's just kind of that constant battle of you don't have to be perfect to score, but again, it's fun. Practices. We have about 16 guys this year, so we do a little bit of range some days, but yeah, playing with them is definitely the way to go.
I was going to say, I was asking last night to Coach, and it's like asking you guys to choose amongst your kids, right? If you mention one, then you feel obligated to mention them all. You hear so often your sports IQ, football IQ, baseball IQ. So in this case, golf IQ. And I just asked him, I said, who is the best right now that if the coaches weren't available, they could think their way through a round. They could think their way through a front 9. Obviously, in this case, you're only playing 9 today. Yeah. But you wouldn't need to be there because they understand, okay, here's my lie. Here's the next shot I need to hit. But what's the old phrase? I'm playing chess while you all are playing checkers. Yeah. I'm already thinking ahead what this next shot leads to beyond that. Now, he mentioned 2 guys in particular, but I want to get your take on it. He mentioned Jaron and Kaysen. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would say that's probably the two. I would even put Kaysen maybe just a touch ahead. Jaron's, he's a great player, and I think he's got some growing up to do when it comes to bad holes. But Kaysen does. He can kind of figure his way, he'll be shooting 4 over, through 6 holes, and doesn't necessarily always seem like it.
Sure.
But so yeah, I would say those two guys for sure. Just in terms of avoiding penalty strokes and trying to put the ball in play as much as possible.
We're still on 5 green here, it looks like, correct? The 5th green. So, and again, is there a little bit of a slope to this from the camera angle we're looking at here? Or is it deceptive?
5 is a probably the most deceptive green out here. There's 3 tiers to it. So you can, if you get above the flag, you're putting down at least 1 tier. I think where that flag is today. So yeah, 5 definitely probably the hardest green out here by far. The other ones are pretty relative slope and stuff.
Which is now are we at 3 here? Looks like the 3 tee box.
Yeah.
So again, a little water on the left. Although if you find yourself in the water off the tee box, to say you didn't nut it is probably a good way to put it.
Yes, without a doubt. Yeah, you probably just want to re-tee. You're not gonna. Yeah, so that's probably a re-tee. What we're watching there.
But at the same time, so let me ask you this, because I know you've got work to do. We appreciate you stopping by here. So, trickiest green on the front 9 at least is 5.
Yeah.
What's the trickiest overall hole? Josh and I were talking about that as you came up here. I think I know what you're going to say.
Yeah, I think it's pretty clearly 7.
Yep.
7 takes 2 really good shots. The green is deceptive in the sense that it doesn't run with the hole, right? It runs, perpendicular, I guess you could say.
But it's elevated too.
It's elevated. There's a big bunker in front. Obviously you don't have there's no bailout on 7, which is what makes it tough. So it's a pretty difficult golf hole for sure. And off the tee you can play it. It's one of my favorite. Not favorite holes in terms of, but I think it's one of the best holes just because you can play it a lot of different ways off the tee. You can hit driver if you want, and try to hook it. You can hit a 5-iron. You can hit a hybrid. There's a lot of different ways you can play it. So.
Well, you've got way too many clubs in your bag for me. I'm usually using the same 2. I nicknamed my 4-iron the chainsaw because that comes out more often than not. So, all right, we appreciate you stopping by, Coach.
Absolutely. Yeah,
good luck the rest of the way. We'll look forward to tell you what, when everybody checks back in, we'd love to have you pop back over again as well.
Good.
Thanks.
Yep.
Tell you what, we're going to take a quick break as the Varsity 6 have worked their way through the better part of the front 9 here. We've got the JV showing off some of the backside of the groups here. We need to take a quick break, but when we come back, more of the Defiance versus Tinora golf meet as we are live at Eagle Rock and you're watching it on DCTV.
So they know how to
Sports.
prepare you for great career opportunities. Northwest State, where you'll get the top quality healthcare education you need to succeed.
DCTV Sports, welcome back to Eagle Rock Golf Course. I'm Josh Bush with Brent Balbinot today. I'm so used to, listen, we're back at it. It's the first broadcast of the year. Coach Weaver is joining us. Not the first day for you guys. You're not your first day on the course, but a gorgeous Friday morning out here. I'll tell you what, you couldn't ask for nicer weather.
No, this is a beautiful day. We played Monday and Tuesday, and it was about 95, and then Wednesday it was like 75, and we froze. So I'll take this weather every day of the week.
The rain came through earlier this week and really kind of softened the course a little bit. What are you seeing? What are you talking to the guys about out there today about, is this playing differently than what they've seen already this year?
Greens are holding a little better, and that's because of the rain. The fairways are a little softer. We're not getting the roll. But yeah, the course is running nice today. We got a couple guys who are through 6 who are Jaron Hansberger's 1 over. He went back-to-back birdies there, and 4 and 5, and then Drew Heffel's 2 over. So we'll see how we finish.
Well, yeah, they're coming up on 7. We just got done talking to Coach Moore, and probably the toughest hole on this front 9. And what do you talk to the guys when they come up on that? What are you looking for them to get? I mean, obviously, you get too far to the left, and you're flirting danger over there. You get to the right, you got a big hill. I mean.
Yeah, it's not an easy hole. If you played out here, that's the one that everyone hates, getting to 7. It ruins every round, and that's the problem. You got the water all the way to the left. If you push it right, you're up. You got a side hill lie. So what we really talk about is find a club that you can hit straight, basically. I mean, it's easier said than done, but hit something out there that you're 150, 140 out, and give your chance a shot at par.
Well, you talked about playing a lot this week so far. What have you seen from this crew? Obviously, you don't have time to go work on those little adjustments of practice. And what have you seen? What are we working on? You're in the thick of it. You can't get out there and say, okay, the littlest of tweaks makes a huge difference.
Makes a huge difference. And it's the biggest thing is our course management. Figuring out how not to take the triples, take the 7 and 8s, where if you can make that a bogey, and just learn how to score when you make a bad shot. They think every drive should be down the middle, every approach should be in the middle of the green, and they should make every putt.
Well, we all want that, don't we?
Right. They don't understand all the time. That's not how it works, and you got to figure out ways to recover. But I will say, from last Thursday, we had our first league match, and then we went invite Friday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and today. We have got better every day. And that's what we've kind of talked about, is just keep getting better, and that's kind of what these first few matches are. And then next week, later in the week, Thursday, Friday, we have 2 big league matches with OG and St. Mary's. So just trying to keep getting better until we get to those matches.
When you look at let's talk, just shift gears a little bit. You mentioned the league matchups. What have you seen, I guess probably mostly on cards so far, out of the Western Buckeye League?
Yeah, we've matched up with quite a few of them at the invites. Shawnee is really good. Ottawa Glandorf is really good, and St. Mary's returns everyone from last year, and they've been posting some good scores. Van Wert has a pretty good team. So the WBL and anyone, obviously, that plays in it, covers it, every sport, boys and girls, the WBL is a really, really good sports league. So we'll see. Our goal is to finish in the top half. We got win number 1 last Thursday against Kenton. So we'll see. We beat a couple of those teams in invites. They've got us, but invites are a little different than the 9-hole, so you never know. But I think we have the guys that can compete every night in the WBL.
As you move into league play, as you move in down the road, what are some keys for your group to be successful, to keep getting better?
Yeah, our biggest thing is consistency. We'll get guys that will go 3 holes in a row at the par, then they take that triple, and then that frustrates them, and then the next hole's a double. So we're just trying to work on consistency, and we have 3 of our top 5 guys played baseball. So they were all the way up till July 15th, and then July 16th they've got in the golf groove. So they haven't even been doing it a month. And anyone that golfs know you got to do it every day and get better. And I think that's why we're starting to see some improvements. They've been doing it every day.
Well, Coach, appreciate you taking a few minutes to stop by over here. Good luck the rest of the afternoon. Is it afternoon yet? I don't even know. Time's flying. You're on the golf course. Time flies.
I just live
just out here and enjoy. Yeah, just out and enjoy the sunshine.
We appreciate you guys covering us. Our kids think this is the coolest thing. They didn't even know you guys were coming, and we get to 3, and they're like, "Hey, what's that camera doing?" I go, "You guys are on TV."
No pressure.
Like,
no pressure.
Are you kidding me?
No pressure. So,
right.
All right.
Don't hit one bad. The whole town of Defiance.
I told him. I said, now realize, because they're camera guys, I don't know how much golf they played. I said, realize they're going to be hitting balls maybe at you.
Well,
so I said, just be really careful.
The guy on the tree stump on 3, our group 1 goes, that guy's not safe for some of us.
I say that about a lot of things when I'm on the golf course. But
right.
Coach Weaver, we appreciate you taking a few minutes and enjoy the rest of the day out here. And good luck to the guys as they finish up.
Absolutely. Thanks for doing this. This is cool.
All right, we're here at Eagle Rock Golf Course, Tinora and Defiance, right here on DCTV Sports.
Discover top quality healthcare education at Northwest State. Our instructors have real world experience, so they know how to prepare you for great career opportunities. Northwest State, where you'll get the top quality healthcare education you need to succeed.
We're back at Eagle Rock here in Defiance as the sun is coming out. It is still a gorgeous day, and we are on hole number 7 right now. Are we correct?
Oh, take that back. They zoomed in over to 5.
5, okay, that is 5. Excuse me here. Although the first group is now through 7, so they're working their way through the back, or the tail, I should say, of the front 9 here. So my guess is what, probably about another 20, 30 minutes, Josh, and we're going to have scorecards coming in.
Absolutely. We can switch over to 6 and get a par 3, 6.
So Coach Moore and Coach Weaver both stopping by to join us. And here is 6. And that's a pretty good rip. I think, is this the third group, if I'm not mistaken?
This should be the third group because it looks like group number 2 is up on the tee on 7. So this would be group number 3 that's coming up on 6 here. So we got a lefty.
Yep.
Well, he's staring it down.
They play that well. Is that going to hold? Not quite sure. Again, this is where, with the elevation change, it's kind of tough with our camera angle being back. It's a great shot. It gives you a great look at the hole and really the fairway overall. But this is a tricky course, Josh. Having seen just the front 9, I'd like to at least drive the back 9 at some point in time. Elevation changes, all of a sudden narrow to wide. You've got some water. Obviously, you've got trees that are strategically placed. This is a challenging course. And as Coach Moore mentioned, none more so than hole number 7. It looks friendly. It is not friendly.
Yeah. And maybe we'll take a ride through the back 9 because if you think, the back 9 definitely a little more of a challenging spot than what we're
tighter than the front 9.
Yeah,
okay,
for sure. Yeah. There's a couple of holes back in there. And I'll say this too. There's a couple that are wide open too. You can really kind of rip it down. But that's the best part of. One of my favorite parts about this golf course is just being able to have those holes where you can go wide open, but then you're challenged by making those shots that have to come in.
Well, again, we're getting close to cards coming in here, but we will certainly have Coach Weaver back once everybody is signed off. It looks like the first group here is, can we tell which hole is that there?
That's 8 to 13
that is
off.
8, okay.
So we'll try to get a Shot in behind is group number 1 is.
I tell you what, and we may have to just sing Guy Tettenhorst praises on our own here. But again, tremendous facility, tremendous course, and even more so, tremendous hospitality from everybody out here to allow us to set up and bring you today's meet.
Yeah, they've been tremendous. We got here this morning. Carts to, keys to a couple of carts, utility cart to haul the stuff out.
Yep.
If you're familiar with Eagle Rock at all, the old tennis courts that are kind of next to the driving range area, guy says, hey, there's power over there. And we're like, cool, we need power. So,
and it worked.
And it worked when we plugged in, That's what I told the guys this morning. I said it turned orange when I plugged it in. So as we take a look at this first group teeing off here on hole number 1, and as you heard Coach Weaver say, Jaron kind of put through a nice little set of birdies there going into 7. I'm not sure how he finished on 7, but really had kind of put things together there at 1 over at last check, and that's a nice way to come. If you can get through 7 unscathed, 8 and 9 are not the most challenging holes coming out of here. So, he's in a good spot to finish strong if he can get through that gauntlet of 5, 6, and 7.
Well, again, I'll be curious, especially, and as you would expect with the first group, the 1s and the 2s going through. Grant Lymanstall had a 76. That was obviously through 18 earlier this year. He made the all-tournament team yesterday at Auglays over at Paulding. Defiance was there as well. Best scores so far this season, at least through the early part of it, has come from Jaron Hansberger. And if I'm not mistaken, as I'm going through my notes here, I think he shot an 80 earlier this year. So first week, I don't want to say kick off the rust because a lot of these guys should be practicing, playing over the summer. But at the same time, there is a difference if you're playing with dad or your uncle or just your buddies versus, okay, it counts here. You don't get a mulligan. You don't get a gimme.
And as you heard Coach Weaver say just a few minutes ago, a lot of these guys were in baseball
They're
mode
playing Acme
until the middle of July, and you got to kick it in. And the age-old adage of a golf swing and a baseball swing don't mix. I can tell you for sure that they don't. I mean, you've got to be able to change it up a little bit. And as I think we're going to go back to the par 3, number 6.
Okay. This should be the last group, or is this the JV maybe starting to swing it through here? But no, you make a great point there, Josh. In baseball, weight back. Your load is strictly a timing mechanism, and a lot of kids now I know don't even go with the load. Just keep everything back so that there's no accidental movement forward. Golf is a completely different mechanic.
Yeah, you want that nice fluid motion all the way through. You got to really focus on, where the elbow comes through. You want your hands to finish out, and you've got to finish that swing. You've got to finish the swing. There's so many golfers that I see come out and they'll leave it out, and you come down and you spin your wrists a little bit. Now you've opened the club face up. You're out to the right. You've flopped it. Can you tell I've done this a few times?
I was going to say we should have had you on the camera because that was a visual instruction right there.
And the other thing is, especially if you're in a match play, and let's take this first group for example. They're coming out of that gauntlet 5, 6, and 7. You come out to 8 and you go, okay, this is wide open all the way down the fairway here. We got a couple of trees on each side. Maybe you want to, okay, I need to make up a shot, so I'm going to try and rip this a little bit. Well, what do? You come through a little bit tight, and now you've pulled it off to the left. Now you're going to get some distance when you pull it off to the left a little bit, but again, and as you can see, I think we got a Tinora golfer walking over to the left, so he might have been trying to, get a little bit extra on that. You're going to pull it a little bit. You get the distance, but then you got to make up for it because you're in the and not in the fairway.
You can't take liberties. Everything's got to be the same. It's just like in talking with NFL place kickers or field goal kickers. If you're kicking an extra point or you're kicking a 60-yard field goal attempt, everything stays the same. Approach, mechanics. I know it's tough because obviously in golf, different clubs lead for different situations, but the baseline is still simple. It's like that old Bob Uecker joke. He talked about baseball versus golf. He sat down after a tournament once with Johnny Bench, and he said, hey, Ueck, how'd you shoot? And he said, 200. And Johnny Bench said, hey, just like your batting average.
Now as we see group number 2's coming up, and you can see from this angle, Brent, that's hole number 7.
Yep.
From our vantage point, we're looking at the green backwards. So you can see we've got a Tinora golfer off to our left. there, right? They got into that high bunker, so now you've got a side hill lay like Coach Weaver was talking about. But again, you can see the trees on the other side. If you end up over there, you know, you're flirting with disaster on that side too.
That is a tough lie because you literally have to thread the needle there. It's not just the angle, but it's the elevation that accompanies the angle. I don't want to say you have to hit a perfect shot, but you need to be very good on that approach.
And then you've got to kind of thread it into that green. It's going to be covered on bunkers on both sides, and you know, it makes for a challenging approach. As you can see, and Coach Weaver mentioned this too, it's not a straight-on green. You're going to come up and it's going to come off to the right on you, so you've got to be able to kind of land from the side of the green, if you will. And you know, I don't think there's an easy hole. I mean, there's an easy spot to be in on hole number 7. So
that's a good job by our cameraman there on the 7th green. Coming back in on it just a little bit. We'll see if that green's stuck, and we'll wait and see. It looks like maybe that was the second player of that group to take the shot.
And as you can see, when the camera comes back over to the right, you're going to see that trap that's just off the green. The green kind of comes back to the right, and it goes uphill, and then it comes over to the right as well. And it looks like that pin's laying up on that top side. So, you know, you've got to be able to get yourself up over the trap and land.
That's good camera work right there. Excellent done. Is that Cody? That's Ben. Ben, excellent work there. You saw not only where the ball landed, but the roll afterwards. And
Coach Weaver checking out what's going on.
Yep. Surveying his kingdom, so to speak. But just that shot alone there on that approach, Josh, tells me something. The greens are starting to speed up a little bit. They played slower, as you would expect, with the rain this week and the heavy dew this morning, but the sun has baked them a little bit, and it looks like they're starting to play faster.
Yeah. Once you know, and you see this, if you go out early in the morning, especially on a day when they've watered or you got the dew on there, your greens are going to start off really slow. As the day goes on, the sun comes out, and those greens, you know, you get on, you know, you might be in the back nine, you might still have some greens that are pretty dry, or excuse me, are pretty wet and pretty slow through more of the day, but they're not going to get that sun right away.
No.
So you're out there, and then you come up on a green that's kind of shaded, and you realize, well, wait a minute, I didn't necessarily get what I was hoping for here because it's still a little bit slower.
Now, I don't want to say that plays a huge decision as to which club you're going to use, but the farther you're out, maybe you do club down a little bit and maybe try and hope to get a little bit of run, versus if they're not holding quite like they were earlier, there is a little bit of game management again involved.
And too, you know, then you got to look at what angle do I have into the hole? You know, am I going to have to up and down over the trap? Do I have to? Am I going to have to? You know, do I have a shot where I can come up that tight little opening between the traps? I mean, it's just a matter of what it looks like for you, as we see a really nice shot out of the sand.
Boy, well saved.
Tinora golfers there, and I will tell you what, if you'd like to give lessons on how to hit out of the sand, I will gladly subscribe.
That's your areas of expertise? I thought you'd give the lessons.
I'll tell you a quick story. I played over in Kalida, and my dad will tell you this story too. They have a series of holes that have a lot of sand traps.
Okay.
He claims I hit every one of them.
Were you sponsored?
Nice, not far off. But yeah, oh man, I feel like I hit from one bunker to the next, and I couldn't get out of it.
We could maybe find an agricultural sponsor, maybe John Deere or Case, and they could bring a backhoe out and you could become the sponsor.
Listen, whatever works. I'm open for options.
What you saw there was textbook, because so many people, and again, especially novices or inexperienced golfers, when they pull out that sand wedge, they stop.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things I had to get used to, was that club is designed to dig a hole. You've got to follow through, or else you don't get quite the loft that you would. And that was an excellent save by that young golfer.
Yeah, and you see we got a Defiance golfer that's in trouble here. And that's what happens, you know, you get a little off to that left side, and it's going to drop off the other side down towards that valley, and that makes a really tough approach.
Well, and right there he just punched. Well, I tell you what, he's onto the green, though, and actually that was behind the green, and that is an excellent approach. I thought for a second he was punching out. No, that was an approach to the green, and if we can maybe zoom in, can we tell which Defiance golfer that was?
It was the lefty.
That was tremendous. We've seen two great saves, one from Tinora and one from Defiance.
Go up and mark his shot there. That was a beautiful, beautiful shot because he was in a spot that I don't think anybody really wants to be in. You get off that backside of that green and a few more feet, and he'd have been an even worse shot, worse situation because it's going to keep going right down towards the water down there. Long putt here was that Drew Heffel, perhaps? I can't tell. I was going by hair, but that's. I like Drew's hair, but I think he's got competition for hair today. So this would be group number 2 here on the 8th green. Excuse me, the 7 green.
Yep. We've got our crew now moved off the front 9, or at least the top of the front 9. We've got a camera setting up on the 9th green. So as the golfers wrap up, especially the first 2 to 3 groups, we expect to be able to bring you, again, live coverage of the final hole.
Looks like that first group is just making their way to the 9 tee box, so we should see them coming our way before too long.
We've had Ryan move from the tree stump. I tell you what, Coach Weaver mentioned him not by name, but standing up on that huge stump basically in between both sets of fairways. And you heard his own words, some of Defiance's golfers going, that guy's not safe from us. He should be getting hazard pay here this afternoon.
I used the tree stump as kind of a ear marker to let the guys know where to go, but we know Will well enough. He took that as, I'm going to go put the camera guy on that tree stump. That wasn't exactly what I meant, but
hey, Ryan's just young enough; he doesn't know the difference, right? So no fear in our camera crew today.
You see the group finishing up here on the number 7 and taps in after that nice save there. So another nice hole there. Again, if you can get out of number 7 with a bogey, I think you're happy. We saw a couple of approach shots that were maybe a little off there that, good saves. One out of the sand and one off the backside. So
Lefty in particular, and we're not talking about Mickelson, but that was a tremendous recovery shot. Oh, my. And those are the kind that you see in your nightmares.
Yep. And those are the ones that you want to get back. Well, and again, if we were to walk over to this green, Brent, it's about 50 yards, 75 yards behind us, you would see that green slopes, and it's got an angle to it. So even those little 3-4 footers are not the easiest in the world to get.
All right, and I believe it's
where you're going, making those shots, and I just, when I get out and I have to stop and wait, sometimes it it throws my game off a little bit. Not that I'm hitting under par, but.
Ladies and gentlemen, when I asked Josh what his handicap was, he said his game. So forget numbers. We're talking about skill set right now. So.
Yeah, for the longest time, I was confused on the fact that you were supposed to keep it as the lowest score one, and I guess you're really supposed to keep the score down, not up. I learned that the hard way as I found my way to, as we're watching an approach shot on, I think that's on 7, and up into the trap as we see group number 3 there coming down, and as we should have a look of the first group coming up on hole number 9 here pretty soon. It looks like group number 3 is starting to make their way down 7.
Okay. I have confirmed who the lefty is because there are 2 of them on Defiance's roster. Look, I'll just be honest. Coach Weaver said that was my son. That was Braden. And I said it was a great recovery. And he goes, yeah, if he only hadn't hit such a terrible approach shot, he wouldn't have needed a great recovery. So we've got
That
to
sounds
give him,
like what Coach Weaver would say.
That's what a coach would say. But I will say this. He recovered. I mean, that didn't turn into a second or third extra stroke. That was fantastically done.
And again, then he came up and he made the putt. You know, and again, he could have been in a spot where he just wasn't feeling good about that. That could have gone a lot of different ways. And kudos to that young man for making making the best out of what could have been a little bit rougher.
So I'm not sure if that means an extra pork chop or chicken breast on the dinner plate at home for dinner, but Braden, you definitely earned seconds.
Probably means an extra bucket of balls at the driving range. So
it means playing 7 over again repeatedly. All right, so right now, boy, that's a tough lie.
An approach shot there on 7, and again, you can see tucked that left side, and not only do you have the woods and everything else, it just kind of dips right down into.
In that situation, that's about all you can do, can't you? You can't cut the corner there because you're too far over. I don't want to say you punch out, but that's tough. That is tough. That was a tough lie.
Now I think we're looking at group number 1 coming up on hole number 9 here. So we've moved Ryan off the tree stump. He's made his way over
to the clubhouse,
towards the clubhouse and hole number 9. And as you can see, the first group, it's off to our left, so we can kind of see them making their approach in.
Hole 9, walk us through that. If somebody hasn't played Eagle Rock before, what's the challenge there?
You've got a little bit of a fade to the right, so you're going to tee off back. I don't want to say down in the corner, but you're down towards where the 2 green hole number 3 is, and you're going to come out of that, and then you've got, if you pull it to the left too far, which I won't mention any names, I've been close before, or somebody I played with was close once, but the parking lot's over to the left if you get a little bit too far to the left. But it's a 340-yard par 4. It's going to have a nice fade to the right. You've got trees, mature trees on both sides of it, and then again, you're going to have a tight approach into the green that's going to have bunkers on either side that you got to watch. So these guys looks like their tee shots have made it right out to where you want to be. You got out and you're at the kind of the bend in the dog leg. It's not really a dog leg, but it's got that gentle fade to the right. So these guys are going to play their second shot, their approach from the green, probably about 150. I'm trying to see if that might be Drew Heffel over there, and his shot is going to be, it looks like right up on the green. Oh yeah, he staked it. That is right up by the hole. We can see it from here, and he left that one. It's going to be hard to tell from here, but that ball is pin high on the green right now.
And we'll see if we can't get to our camera on the 9th green, and we'll give you a really good look at the first 4 wrapping up their round. Again, only playing 9 here today. And we're going to put multiple cameras now on that 9th green, so we'll be able to take a look at tee shots as well as the green and everything in between as far as a short par 3 to wrap up the front 9.
Yeah, so I don't know if you can see where Drew's ball's laying up there.
We can see it from here.
My goodness.
Can't hit it much better.
That was one beautiful shot, and it even looked like a golf shot. He held the swing, stared it down a little bit, had a nice arc up there, hit right in front of the green and rolled right up towards the pin, and just fantastic shot there from Drew Heffel.
He did everything but yell at it. He didn't need to.
Now as you see from the 9th green here, these golfers will start to make it. Well, they're trying to catch up with Drew now, essentially. So it's probably Jaron, I would imagine. Little wedge shot up there, and it looks like he's going to be offline just a little bit. maybe off to the left a little bit. It kind of disappeared from my vantage point here.
We're kind of keeping an eye on it here because it's within eyesight of us here as we've got our monitor to our left, but another good approach there.
So it looks like all 4 of the golfers have made their way onto the green on number 9. This again is group number 1 that will be finishing up here, and you can see for these guys, it's a kind of probably a sigh of relief after that last one goes in.
Unless you're clicking on all cylinders, right? Then you want to play the back 9, but it's one of those situations where I think for the casual fan, especially the casual golfer, physical is one thing, but this game can drain you mentally. I mean, you can literally be exhausted and still play a great round.
Yeah, so you know, and I agree with you. You know, and I think it's kind of a rule. Don't you always play the last hole the best? So you want to come back and play again
for one reason or another.
Yeah.
We hear the dinner bell ringing. Either that or somebody's an Olympic champion off the back 9.
It's okay.
So as we see this final, or the first group trying to finish up here, and
they have pulled the pin. Everybody's got a pretty good look from our vantage point here. And there we go. Nice pan. Golfer coming from the edge there.
He's going to have a long bending shot from over there.
Is he going to get a little help? He did not.
I'm not sure if that's...
So let's see who's addressing.
It's like Drew Heffel might be.
Now. Heffel is out, or the next man out. You see him just to the right of your screen. Brian wants to zoom in a little bit. We'll take a look at the hole, and there's a good look. Follow that ball. Got a break at the very edge. Does that have legs? It does not. Oh. And he's thinking woulda, coulda, shoulda. So up next, last of the first foursome here for Tinora. I believe, is this Logan Stein? Nope, this is actually going to be Hans Berger, who was at 1 under at one point in time, as we heard Coach Weaver mention. Really trying to line up his putt here and finish up strong. Had to put a little something behind it. Got the turn, and that was well struck, well done. Hit perfectly. Great read from that lie. And that's when you can feel good about as you fill out your scorecard. And this should be, I believe, Logan Stein now for Tinora, sizing things up. There's the problem, too, as you go to get your ball back. Sometimes you're walking in the line of the guy behind you, and it's tough because there is golf etiquette. But at the same time, one of the challenges of the game.
Nice touch on that one.
Yep.
Very good finish there for Logan Stein.
Feathery.
Ooh, I like that. Feathery.
So
should we call him Tin Cup?
There is a difference between reality and the movies, although in my case, it's unfortunately probably too similar.
Now it looks like Drew is going to take his shot.
And it didn't quite get him the break that he wanted. Oh, my goodness.
And I think that would have been for a birdie because he had that beautiful, and again, we're counting on that was his tee shot out there. If that was his tee shot, he had that gorgeous, gorgeous second shot.
You saw him walking off there kind of raising his putter above his head. And the only thing I can tell you is what my coach used to tell me, there's no such thing as a bad par.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if you walk out of there, you know, obviously the frustration is you didn't get the birdie. But you got a par. You didn't add to the top as they're going to shake hands and finish up their round. And
well done. The first group is through 9. They can enjoy a smile or two here. We'll wait to see what the card looks like. But at 11:45, I'd say
a 2-hour round.
Roughly a 2-hour round.
So it looks like group number 2 is on the tee box of 9 right now, and
We'll take a look at them as they get ready to finish up the front 9.
And then it looks like this is the group number 3 that's walking up the fairway on number 8. They just teed off here on number 8. Khalil Ligon in that group.
How can you not? All you have to do is look at that strut, and you know exactly which group it is.
I've known Khalil for a few years now. Basketball, baseball. Super good kid, and just full of personality himself. And he's easy to find because he wants everybody to know he's out here playing golf.
As one of my friends who used to be a police officer said, he has command presence.
Yeah. So, and again, as Coach Weaver and Coach Moore have said, he's one of those athletes. He comes off of baseball. He hasn't started for a while. He's not a kid that's been playing golf a long time, wants to be involved, and gets out here for the opportunity to play golf and see what he can do.
So that is group number 3 as we're talking about. Group number 2 is on the box at 9, and they are getting ready to wrap up their round. And
that looks like one of my shots there.
Who hasn't been there?
Yeah,
Who
absolutely.
cannot empathize with that?
Well, and we've talked about the mental game here a little bit. Let's see how he recovers here. Is he going to take his time? And I think he might have hurried that next shot. It's obviously better than the other one, but if it's to the left, down into the trees on that left side. So, it's down there a little ways, but the frustration maybe for him there is he didn't give himself the opportunity to, reset, take a breath, and get that next shot in there. So, looks like Khalil Ligon's going to take a shot here.
This third group for Defiance, again, is Khalil Ligon and Bowden Stoller. Ligon sizing it up from the first cut on the right side of the fairway. It looks well struck.
Looks like he took a really nice shot at it. We'll see where that ball comes down, but it should be up towards the green. As I like to say, my ball went up towards the green somewhere. So.
It made progress. The third group for Tinora. I need to give them credit. The only 2 upperclassmen on the varsity roster, at least for the starting 6 today. And that is Ryder Parker Hancock and Grayson DeLarber. Are those a couple of golfers' names?
Absolutely.
Those are golfers' names.
Yeah. That's they get the award for best golfer names today, for sure.
We got to find a sponsor for that. Best name or
name.
nickname? I think that might work, wouldn't it?
If you're listening today and you'd like
Parker Hancock, Grayson DeLarber in, I was going to say by proxy. When we find one, we'll go ahead and get you, we'll get you that award, whatever it may be.
Get you a golf towel or something.
Absolutely.
High school.
So that's group number 3 heading into the green on hole number 8.
Here they are.
And then
This
you've
is a
got
good look from the front side.
For their, DCTV.
Bowden Stoller taking a good look at it.
I know we should have something on the front.
Bowden, Coach Weaver told me, is the team jokester. In a sport where everybody maybe tends to get wound a little bit too tight or can't slow things down, he's the guy that will crack a joke. He's the guy that will loosen everybody up.
Yeah. And how important is that on a golf? Like, when you're talking about golf, everybody takes it so seriously as he's staring that one down towards the green, and looks like he's going to be high and left of that green. Now you look at the flag down there, that wind is now kind of in their face. It's kind of almost shifted around a little bit, and it's coming not maybe a little bit back towards them, but also pushing to the left. And you can see his ball just right off to the left, if that makes sense.
Question is, I don't know if it's enough that you'd need to club up, but it certainly is enough that maybe you decide, okay, I need to reset my feet, maybe pick a different aiming point.
One of the 2 lefties for Defiance.
If I'm not mistaken, I think Coach told me he was a hockey player.
I got it. No, you're okay.
I knew another hockey player that played golf. His name
It's not
was
Adam Sandler, was it?
Happy?
Happy Gilmore?
Yeah.
Now, it looked like he went low, and I don't want to call that. I mean, that's very far out. but it looked like playing the green there, or maybe playing the lie a little bit instead of trying to hit a high approach and hoping that it stick, maybe hitting it a little low and hoping that it ran.
Yeah, I mean, I saw a little bit of the felt patch coming off of the ground, so maybe he got under that just a little more than he wanted to.
A little chunky.
And looked like it was a little short of the green. So we'll see once they get up here how they take their approach, as I think this is going to be, is this Khalil from the left side?
That is a long putt.
And again, the more he gets out here and plays,
Sure.
the more consistent he's going to start to see that. So
Now our second group on 9, it looks like we've got
should
a
be coming up
couple
on 9 here. Yep.
A couple of a little short, and one may have found himself up against one of those large, well-placed trees. I don't know if our camera crew on 9 can get a shot of that. So we're seeing the action on the green on 8 here as that foursome, everybody's aboard and trying to putt out.
Looked like Khalil just about.
I tell you what, if we can go back to the 8th green there as they're putting.
Yep,
Put that on program.
No, that's what they're in.
Yep, there we go.
Look, final approach shots is that one went a little bit heavy. So everybody just a little bit short with that approach. And again, that could be some of that wind shifting gears a little bit. A little punch and run.
And let's see.
Just off to the left.
Not bad from where we're standing, or at least from the camera angle. It's looking like, what, maybe 3 feet? They're going to let him putt out.
They're going to let him putt out.
Don't want to pull that pin. Always running a risk there. He likes to live dangerously.
And everybody's watching.
Exactly. As Coach Weaver said, the entire town of Defiance is watching. I don't know if maybe we'll go quite that far, but my guess is these guys will watch themselves and maybe hopefully be able to use this a little bit as some training film as well.
How are we doing, Tristan? So we got some folks watching out there. We appreciate you tuning in to DCTV Sports here, our first sports of fall.
We are kicking off the fall season of 2024.
As we can start to maybe get this putt here, and then we've got the number 2 group will be making their final approach into hole number 2.
Damn, nice job.
Ryan
there.
might be in danger zone here, it looks like.
Ryan's living large today. He's used to danger.
Danger is his middle name. But it looks like one of the Tinora golfers found his way off to the
end of the driving range.
Yeah, and they're trying to figure out which ball's his, I think.
That is Sliced City. I don't know if we can get that on. We're seeing the last of the putting. I believe this is Khalil Ligon at 8. Oh, just off the edge. And he will move quickly there to try and finish out hole number 8. So now our attention can move over to the fairway, or in this case, the driving range for the second group of 4 coming up 9. Everybody else is on. It looks like I can't tell which golfer this was, but he has punched out. That had to go between a couple of trees. That is a tough angle, but we'll have to wait and see where he's on here.
Now we got final approach shots here.
Again,
got the other lefty for Defiance.
So the second group for Defiance should be Kaysen Leinebrink and Braden Weaver.
So that would be Weaver, I believe, taking that left-handed shot, right? He made the
incredible save on the backside of the 7th green. I will say this, to hit a spectacular recovery shot means you have to hit a terrible first shot. My best recovery shot, I can't even describe the course to you, but it was a short par 3, but huge trees all the way down the right and a pond on the left. My club, my driver slipped. I was using a 3-wood as I made contact, and I should have stopped, but it's tough to do. I almost sprained my thumb. I landed on the parallel holes green. So my recovery shot had to be over trees like you'd see at the corner here of the driving range at Eagle Rock, excuse me, but off the green. And it was the best recovery shot I ever hit. It was completely blind, and I heard an explicative from my partner, and he goes, "Did you throw that over?" And I said, "No, I hit it." And he goes, "You're within 2 feet."
Wow.
I would have had a birdie, But everybody's got that story, right? You hit an absolute garbage first shot,
Yep.
which leads to your best recovery shot that
Absolutely,
you've ever hit.
absolutely. I've never had one of those. I just had the bad shot first. So,
So you compound your problem by hitting 2 bad shots in a row, is what you're saying.
yeah. Consistency
Well,
is.
there you go. You've got it. You've got it. All right. So here we are on the 9th green. And everybody now has found the green.
So I'm actually not going to tell you the worst shot I ever took because
Was it here at Eagle Rock
it
or
was
somewhere
at
else?
what's called Harvest Moon now, formerly St.
Okay.
Mike's. Had nothing to do with the course. Just had everything to do with how long we'd been out there, and
and
let's just say the shot went parallel.
Okay.
Or, excuse me. The shot went perpendicular to the way it was supposed to go.
oh, wow. Okay. Now, parallel would have been an alternate universe, but perpendicular, I've never heard of one of those.
Yeah. Have you ever hit one back through your legs?
I've seen Chevy Chase do it in the movie Caddyshack, but
Yeah.
other than that, no.
You should have been out with us that day. 'Cause I put it on in one, but it was the wrong green.
That last approach shot, well done there. Tinora, and again, this is group number 2, which is Caden Massengale and Ryder Bachhaus. There is another golfer's
Ryder
name.
Bachhaus right
Ryder
there.
Bachhaus.
Tenora's got the golfer names
They
locked
do.
up today.
They got it down. In the world of NIL, we might be able to find them some supplemental cash on the side. Now this is going to be a fairly long putt. Pin has been pulled.
I think this is Kaysen Linnebrink.
Yep. Trying to play the break there. And again, that's a good camera shot, way to follow the ball and zoom in on it. You get a good look at the lie and the run on that.
Looks like Weaver's going to be up next.
So up next for Defiance, and here he comes, the lefty. Should be the lefty, right?
Yep, fired it in there. Just tap in there to finish.
Tap-ins are, well, they should be easy, right? It's like that old Saturday Night Live skit where Tom Hanks was the golfer and he went to tap and he kept missing, and he kept tapping and missing, and all you heard was the announcing crew goes, and he's got an easy, oh. Okay, up next, 2-footer, and oh. Was that shank? That couldn't be. Somebody goofing around. We just had a ball work its way over to the tennis courts here.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, if anywhere that came from, it would have to come from the 9T.
There's no way anybody sliced it that bad. Josh is going to go over and look at it because a ball has just come from the opposite side there, and if it did come from the 8th tee, it is technically on the old tennis courts here underneath a John Deere tractor that they use to pick up range balls. We'll see if that is legitimately the case or not.
Well, I can tell you this much, Brent. It's a Kirkland ball.
Are
So
you serious?
yeah, it's Kirkland. So
I
we'll
own
see if
plenty
any of the
of stock in
golfers off
Costco.
the. We'll see if any of the golfers off of the 8 tee box make their way over here. But
They're
I'll tell you what,
done. Yep.
that, I mean, straighten that out, and that is a hefty drive. I mean, that's every bit of 250, 300
Well,
yards.
we'll
from
see
there.
if either of the gentlemen or all 4 of them work their way over here, but maybe they just went ahead and took a second shot because that would have been a tough ball to gauge or follow.
I do see a
Is it one
Tinora
of
golfer
Tinora's
coming
golfers
this way.
coming over here.
So
Maybe we'll help him
we'll
out.
we'll see if he makes it. We'll see if he comes all the way up here or not. But we may have had a. We thought we were in a pretty safe spot over here.
We
but,
are. Oh my goodness.
as we see the group finishing up there, shaking hands on the number 9 green, and finishing up there would be Kaysen Linnebrink and Braden Weaver for Defiance, and Caden Massengale and Ryder Bachhaus for Tinora, finishing up there on that 9 green and shaking hands. And
I see a Ram golfer walking his way up here, so he's going to have to take a penalty stroke because there's no way you can take a shot from underneath the tractor.
yeah, that would be a little bit of an interesting shot, if you will. So I think Brent's going to go out and maybe
I'm going to help expedite the process.
if he hit one over this way, it's maybe in the tractor. So we'll see if this will be group number 3 that's coming up on the 9. So
Grayson, we just gave you guys credit.
So Brent is getting some help here to one of the Tinora golfers. So we're getting a little assistance here. I don't know how you play this one because it is technically under the...
Trust you, right? We trust you. It's Grayson DeLarber, Josh.
Grayson
He just told
DeLarber,
me he is
so-
going to hit the greatest recovery shot that Eagle Rock has ever seen. What? I might have been embellishing. I'm trying to pump you up here. I'll let you concentrate.
So a little help there from our own Brent Balbinot for Mr. DeLarber. And I'll tell you what, that was a healthy tee.
I tell you what, if you mentioned if he hits that straight, he's on in one, and he is putting for, is it a 3? Is that a par 3?
No, it'd be par 4. It'd be an
So
eagle.
that would have been an eagle.
Yeah. He'd been really close, and
All right,
I mean,
so
he's about pin high. I mean, you cut the corner to the right, so he's probably, a straight-on shot. He's probably about 50 off that green.
I don't know. Can our camera grab him here? Yeah, okay, we've got a good look at him.
He's got a great
He's
approach
pushed it
shot.
right a little bit, but if that's got legs,
Just off the right
short.
side. He got a bad
Just
hop off that
short.
right side, and great shot, Grayson.
It was.
Great shot.
If you'd had one more Wheatie for breakfast, it's on, and you are looking good, buddy.
So
He's smiling.
a nice recovery try there. Just, and that's where this game gets you, right? It's a matter of feet. It's a matter of inches. And as you look at that green, it just drops off that backside. He hit right on the top corner of that drop, and it's going to kick off to the right. So now he's got to recover from that backside over
The
there.
irony is, because I don't think probably anybody's making an approach on that hole from this angle,
Yeah.
but that's the equivalent of a false front.
Yeah.
I mean, you're looking and you think, okay, that's got legs, and it hits, and then all of a sudden you realize how steep that grade is. He didn't miss that by probably more than a couple of feet.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a couple of feet. He had great arc on that,
Yep.
so he's going to get up there. If he's, I think you're right. About 2 more feet, 3 more feet is where he wanted to hit. Because by the time that ball checks and stops, he's probably going to be right at the pin or pretty close. And for him, if you think about this, it doesn't have to be the prettiest.
No.
But he's back on the back. He's back on the back side of the green in 3 or in 2.
2, he's putting for par.
So he just needs a little up and down.
If.
And make your putt, and you get a par. He could walk out of here with a par when your first shot was underneath the tractor.
Now, and Grayson, again, we're not busting your chops here, buddy. We were pulling for you to go another 2
Absolutely.
feet on that approach. Now you're thinking, can I save a bogey?
Yeah.
You're thinking, can I get off in 4, which is still very doable.
Well, and how many teenage kids would you say makes a shot like that? They've got to get their ball out from underneath the tractor. They're going, okay, man, what am I going to do now? This, he made a great shot, and he just missed it by 2 feet.
Yep.
And so it was a beautiful looking golf shot. He went right at the hole, wasn't afraid of it.
No.
Went right at it, and I give you all the props in the world. Another 2 feet, and you're probably looking at it maybe an easy birdie.
Grayson was playing with house money there, and he almost cashed in. But the rest of that foursome now getting ready to approach. A couple are actually on the 9th green here, it looks like. And this is the last of the varsity, group number 3, to finish up today's meet. And DeLarber, he's from behind the big pine there. If that ball was his, I think he's on, but I can't quite tell. Yeah, he's taking a shot, so he is on in 3. And here is Khalil Ligon, who looks like he is going to chip and run.
Come right in the opening here.
Oh, he punched that a little harder than I thought he was. And that's going to roll a bit farther. Actually, that's not too bad. It looks like
to the right a little bit.
The undulation, if you will,
That's a big
killed
word.
that just a little bit. www.thesaurus.com. This is golf. We've got to find different ways to say, okay, your shot was off a little bit. And there's another punch up, and from the lefty. And I'm not sure if Bowden Stoller was happy with that approach, but he's on. I'll leave it here, but from where he hit and he dropped, Grayson DeLarber at the edge of the tennis courts here, with that wind blowing strong from left to right, what do you think here? Is he about 150 out to the pin? What would you gauge his distance would have been on that attempt?
I'd be curious to see what he did get off. I mean, he got a rangefinder out, so
Yep.
I think he had a pretty good idea of what he was going. And I tell you, he hit it right where he needed to. I think you're right too with that drop. I don't think it's quite 150. I think he might be maybe at 130.
Okay.
But you know, it's tough because you can't, if you're not familiar with that, you don't know that that's going to drop right there. Or if
How
you
could
just,
you be familiar
right.
with that shot? I mean, that's
that's a good
not
point.
normal, right?
Well, I mean, some of us. play.
Okay. So from there at 140, what you would have used? What, a 4-iron?
3-wood.
Oh, sure. My apologies. Of course.
No, that was a tremendous shot for him, and you know, looks like he's up and down now.
Trying to close out here, and that looks like Stoller. And now Ligon will do the same. Boy, Ligon just stepped right in there like he was trying to box somebody out for a rebound. He's ready to finish up this hole. And, ooh, around the world, but it falls. So now setting up his last shot here. And I believe this is Parker Hancock. Was he distracted there? Did somebody say something? Trying to refocus, lock back in.
You can see that green sloping a little bit
Yep.
from his left to right.
He played it well.
Played it very well.
Look, there's no need to rush. And now, everybody's sentimental favorite all of a sudden,
Absolutely.
DeLarber, trying to finish out in 5 on hole number 9.
And he just pushed it to the left.
Wow.
So not the finish that I'm sure
No.
he wanted, but I'll tell you what, from where his tee shot was to be able to get over there, get up and
Yep.
down, you're going to 2-putt, but you know what? That could have been a lot worse. You got to look at it from that. You got to look at it from that point. That was a great finish for that young man.
So there you see the handshakes and the pleasantries being exchanged as the last of the varsity groups have finished up for both Defiance and Tinora. Now it's just a matter of making sure that the scorecard is right, sign off on it, and we hope to be joined by Coach Weaver to give us the final results. Do we still have one more to go? Or is that the JV group that's working their way quickly up the fairway at 9?
No, I think that's the
Up, the cart was just off to the side. Or his bag, excuse me, was off to the side.
I think he just left
Okay.
it back there. So I think the first JV group is now coming up the green or
Sure.
the fairway here on 9. So a great finish there for the Defiance group as they closed out. And I think if you're Coach Weaver, you got to be pretty happy with. I mean, he was pretty happy from before. Again, we don't see this. We haven't seen the scorecards quite yet, but looked like some nice shots to finish these last couple of holes. Again, you come out of 5, 6, 7. You just want to get down and get that little sigh of relief if you make it through 7.
5, 6, 7 is the meat grinder portion of the front 9 here. But at the same time, as you mentioned, okay, take a deep breath. You can relax, but at the same time, don't lose your focus. Or you end up putting one on the tennis courts and having to hit from a drop from the John Deere tractor here. So we're going to wait, see what the scores are, try and get Coach Weaver. I'm going to try to talk to Coach Renolette as well, see if he might come over and join us. But the dual meet is done. We'll see who our medalist is and how the scores panned out. Josh Bush, Brent Balbinot, we are live at Eagle Rock. It is our first broadcast of the 2024 fall season on DCTV Sports, and we're back right after this. And we are back live at Eagle Rock as Defiance has wrapped up their meet, just 9 here today against Tinora. And they come up, 15 strokes better as the Bulldogs shoot a team score of 165, the Rams at 180. Brent Balbinot saying thank you for joining us. Josh Bush is waiting to help wrap up as well, but we've got our medalist here to speak with us right now as well. Right there in the camera, everybody, the entire community, Defiance and Northwest Ohio is looking at Mr. Jaron Hansberger as he is the medalist today, shooting a 40. Congratulations to you, sir.
Thank you, thank you.
All right, so walk us through this. Matter of fact, I'm going to ask you at the first tee box because on Tuesday, this place got a downpour. And everybody was talking about it. Coach mentioned it to me last night. The fairways in particular were like Teflon, which I guess if you're a light hitter isn't too bad. You can probably count on another 20 or 30 yards off the tee. Today, played a little softer. Did the course play maybe a little bit truer in your opinion?
I'd say so. I mean, it was pretty nice today. I'm not gonna lie. It just played pretty true. That's about it. That's all you can ask for.
Walk us through your round here. You shot a 40, but from what you told me, you felt you could have had maybe another couple, maybe even 3 strokes to your advantage today.
Yeah, I started things off with a bogey, then I doubled 2, which isn't ideal, but I came back with 4 threes in a row, birdie 2 in a row, and then 7 is a haunted hole for me. It's a tough hole. I went red stakes first hit. Then I didn't have a good second shot there. Then I chipped on, but then I 3-putted, so ended with a 7 there. And all you can just do is rebound back from that, which I thought I did pretty well there. So,
now, Coach Weaver, when I talked to him earlier this week, he said, you know how to score. He said a bad shot doesn't turn into 2, 2 doesn't turn into 3. Can you walk us through the mental part of your game? How do you handle a bad shot?
You know, I just try to stay positive. I don't want to, snowball effect it, you know what I'm saying? You don't want to keep hitting bad shots. You want to rebound that with a good shot. You want to stay positive through it all, and that's it.
Well, Coach told me, he goes, you maybe aren't necessarily the longest guy off the tee, but he said your short game is superb. You're smiling. Do you agree with Coach's assessment there?
Nah, I'm the longest driver. I mean, I've never seen someone out-hit me.
He's smiling. I don't know if he's playing with the sportscaster here or not, but walk us through this. How about your mid-game, your irons? Because unless you only need 2 clubs, and other than Tiger Woods, I don't think anybody has just 2 clubs in their bag. You need more than your driver and your putter. How are your irons? How have you improved in that area of your game?
They're pretty good. I mean, they're hit or miss, really, honestly. I've had some good shots. I've had some bad shots, but that's just golf. And I've just worked on the range, and that really just helps me, and my coaches help me a lot there too.
You guys haven't had much of a chance to practice. You've played every day this week. Different courses mean obviously different approaches, different irons, basically a different mindset. But you were on your home course today. How much of an advantage was that for you?
Oh, it's a huge advantage. I mean, I'm used to this course. I work here too. I'm out here a lot, I mean, Tinora, it's basically their home course. I mean, secondary. So they still put up a fight, but it's your home course. You got to show out. So.
And where are you guys at next?
I think we're at Pike Run in Ottawa.
Okay. Describe that course for us. What's that track like?
I don't really remember it. I think there's a lot of trees. And I don't know. Just try to hit the fairways.
I was going to say, so target golf, just straighten down the middle, and you don't matter. It doesn't matter what the course is like there, right? All right, so here's to hitting them straight and down the middle the next time you go ahead and pull them out. Congratulations today. The medalist, Mr. Hansberger, remember his name. We expect more things from him here as the fall wears along. Congratulations to you. We're going to take a quick break. We are back with more. We're going to put a wrap on our postgame. You're watching DCTV Sports. Welcome back as we put a wrap on our coverage. Our first broadcast of the 2024 fall season happens to be boys golf as Defiance hosts Tinora here at Eagle Rock. Brent Balbinot rejoined by Josh Bush. Our Brunswick Eye and Contact Lens Center post-game show is now underway as the Bulldogs knock off the Rams today by 15 strokes. A final as Defiance.
Now where hopefully courses are settling in. You're gonna maybe see a little bit more rain in the next little bit. You never know. You never know. You go from June and July. You're in August. You'd think it may still be dry. You never know. I mean, so hopefully these courses are gonna maybe start to settle into play a little more true. But it's a really good opportunity to see where you're hitting the ball without that extra roll, without the extra, whatever you're going to get out of a course.
And a situation here today, and Jaron mentioned it, he goes, 7 is in his nightmares. I don't think anybody here, no matter what color team's polo they're wearing, probably would disagree. 7 is, if you master 7, you can master anything.
Yeah, and I look at it too is, 7's kind of the end of a little run there.
Mm-hmm.
You start with 5, which again doesn't seem like it's too tough, but tee shot is crucial on that. You've got to get a nicely placed tee shot out there, give yourself a shot into that green, and then you're going to go to a par 3 that's down and across a valley that has a pretty tough green to get on in 1, and then you come out of 7. And so I think you get that little 3-hole gauntlet down there, and you got to survive, and you've already gone, you get through 5. Now you get through 6. Oh boy, I got 7 coming up, and that middle 3, really a challenge, I think, for any golfer that comes out.
Well, and also we're sitting here talking what you need to do under the assumption that you hit every shot perfectly, right?
Yeah.
You're not going to. Even the best of them have to recover, and we saw one tremendous recovery shot today from Braden Weaver on the back of the 7th green. We thought he was punching out until our cameraman pulled back, and we're like, holy cow, he's on the back of the green, and it was spectacular. We saw one that almost made the green, and Grayson DeLarber, who hit it onto the tennis courts. He dropped, and probably about $140. Is that what you were thinking from where we were at?
130, 140 probably.
I mean, nobody hits a shot from the tennis courts onto the 9th green. It's not designed to play that way, and he just missed. It goes to show you just how fine the difference can be between success and failure in this game.
And it's a matter of feet. Like we talked about when he hit that shot, a couple more feet forward. Mm-hmm. He probably gets just over that edge. It's a drop off straight.
Yeah.
And I think he stopped in that next tree line back there. That could have been a lot worse on a dry day. That could have, if it had been dry like it's been the last couple of weeks, he could have been
maybe
down.
He gets the bounce.
He could have been down in the 7 fairway.
Yep.
And then he's got a big work ahead of him. So again, that helped there with the tree line. With the rain playing a little more true. Definitely a big help for him, to maybe stay in not as bad a shape as he could have been in.
Ladies and gentlemen, our thanks going out to the staff here at Eagle Rock. This is our first broadcast. We're going to be back here next week. Or is it in 2 weeks? It's Monday, the 19th. It's
2
the
weeks,
19th,
yeah.
correct.
So,
as
actually,
the Defiance girls golf.
I think Coach Weaver might be coming
Is Coach
over?
Weaver coming over? If he is, we are certainly, tell you what we're going to do before we sign off. Eagle Eye here next to me sees Coach Weaver working his way up. So we're going to take a quick time out. We're back with more of our postgame right after this on DCTV Sports. And welcome back as we continue with our Brunswick Eye and Contact Lens Center post-game, or in this case, post-meet show. Coach Weaver coming up to join us. Again, Brunswick Eye and Contact Lens Center. Keep your eyes healthy for a long life of clear vision. Brunswick Eye and Contact Lens Center, your family's vision source. Stadium Drive in Defiance and online at visionsource-brunswickeye.com. We appreciate there and all of our sponsors, sponsorship, if I can be redundant, helping us bring you the best coverage of area high school sports here in Northwest Ohio. Coach Weaver made the walk over, so we're going to extend the post game and get his take on it. 165-180, your team wins by 15 strokes. Your overall thoughts on your team's play today?
Yeah, good rounds for us. It was the first time we had all 6 guys in the 40s, so that's a plus for us. Now we want to get them all under 45, and we'd like our 2 guys to be in the 30s. But it's been a long week, and each round we came out, we've got better this week, and that's kind of the goal.
Well, your top 2 scorers were Defiance Bulldogs. Jaron and Drew Heffel was just a stroke off of him. Does iron sharpen iron there, maybe being in that same foursome? Do they kind of push each other?
So, and that's where what's different from playing in the invites, you're playing with yourself and 3 other schools. And when you get in these types of matches, you're playing with one of your buddies, and that kind of helps. I think it helps them calm them down, works through some things. Jaron had a great round going. He was 1 over after 6, and then he tripled 7, which got him. And then Drew was just kind of steady all day. So it was good to see out of those 2.
So what do you want to see? Where are you at next, and what do you want to see then?
Yeah, so Monday we go to Pike Run, which is Patrick Henry Invite. Tuesday, we have an 18-hole match with Bowling Green at Stone Ridge, which is where our sectionals are.
Okay.
So that's where we set that up. And then the big ones are Thursday, Friday here. We have league. We have Ottawa, Glandorf, and St. Mary's, and they're going to be 2 of the top teams in the league. So we're just kind of pushing there, trying to improve and get to those and see where we're at.
So much for practice, right?
There's no practice in this sport for us. So it's kind of tough. You know, we start on Monday, you get 3 practices, and then you just hop into matches. So they've got to practice on their own, and which is kind of nice. A couple of the guys are going to go get some range balls and hit range now. So you do a lot of it on your own in this sport.
Sure. Discipline, no substitute for it, right?
Yeah, you want to be good, it's what you do on your own.
We take that same mantra here at DCTV. We're working hard too. So anything that we've missed that you want to mention? Anything, somebody step out and really surprise you today?
You know, a couple of the young guys in the JV, which they're young, they haven't done this a lot, and they're getting better. Johnny Kistner is improving every round. Khalil, I think, came in at 48, which he's an athlete, figuring out the game of golf. He had 2 bad holes today, and we just got to clean that up. But golf is you got to play, you got to get in, and tournament golf is a lot different than, you know, playing on the weekends with your dad, and a lot of them haven't done enough of that.
You don't get any mulligans on
There's
a day
no
like
mulligans,
today.
there's no gimmies. Those strokes add up a lot when you don't get those.
Well, Coach, we appreciate you giving us some access to the program. Congratulations today, and best of luck next week.
Thanks. I appreciate you guys covering us. Our kids thought this was cool.
Coach Weaver coming over and joining us. Class act all the way around. Our thanks again going out to Brunswick Eye and Contact Lens Center, our sponsors for the postgame show. For my partner Josh Bush, our entire crew doing more than yeoman's work, I'm Brent Balbinot thanking you, the fan, for tuning in. You've been watching a sports presentation of DCTV Sports.